Hi, welcome back to another Geeky Gourmet. I'm Beth Accomando, host of the KPBS Cinema Junkie podcast. And these videos are tied into the themes of my podcast. And today, I'm going to do a Q Branch test kitchen because I'm going to talk about food themed to the latest James Bond movie, No Time to Die. So I'm going to show you how to make food themed to 3 of the key locations in the new film. It's going to be Jamaica, Norway, and Matera, Italy. So I've been a James Bond fan all my life, and I thought I would show you a few of the things that I've collected over time. So I've got my Aston Martin, I've got a program that I had since I was a little kid, and this one you can see it's been well worn, and it even has my kindergarten room number because I used this as a show and tell. I'm not quite sure how that went over, but anyway. And then I have my original Goldfinger album, which I played so often that my parents hid it. So I have been a Bond fan all my life, and since food and drinks play a part in the books and movies, I thought it would be fun to come up with some recipes that are themed to the latest Bond film, No Time to Die, which is Daniel Craig's last appearance as James Bond. So let's get started by cooking some red snapper from Jamaica, because in the movie, Bond catches some red snapper. So here's a simple recipe for red snapper loin steaks or fillets. You take the juice and zest of 1 orange, a few cloves of garlic that are peeled and chopped, a couple tablespoons of olive oil, and a generous pinch of salt and black pepper. And you combine all that in a container, and then you lay the steaks inside the marinade and make sure they're covered by as much of the liquid as possible and let them marinate for at least a few hours. And you're going to cook these in a 375-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes with the skin side up. And if you want an even simpler recipe that has a more Jamaican flavor, find yourself some good Jamaican jerk dry rub and put that on the fillets. And then you can cook them the same way as the other one in a 375-degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes. And I like to serve both with a little bit of tequila mango salsa. In No Time to Die, the character of Madeline refers to a house in Norway as home, and since we get to see some chilly scenes of winter there, I decided to make a beef and vegetable stew, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, called brun lapskas, and this is from Norway to go with the movie. So you want to start with a couple pounds of beef stewing meat, something like a boneless chuck roast, and trim it and cut into 1-inch cubes. Then you want to brown that meat in some butter and oil, and add some salt and pepper. This recipe uses a lot of vegetables, and you want them diced in similar sizes. So a few large carrots peeled and diced, a cup and a half of parsnip peeled and diced, 2 cups of potatoes peeled and diced, a couple of large leeks rinsed and then sliced. I put 3 cups of beef stock in a slow cooker, but you can also do this on a stovetop. Either way, you want to eventually bring the stock to a boil and add the meat. While the meat's cooking, you want to chop and dice an onion. And then to thicken the stew, you want to make a kind of roux with some of the beef stock and a few tablespoons of flour. Then you want to cook the onions in some butter until they're transparent. Add the roux mixture that you made and some dry sherry or white wine. Then take that mixture and add it to the beef that's cooking in the slow cooker or on the stove. Add some sprigs of thyme and bay leaves and cook for an hour. After the beef has cooked for about an hour, take out the sprigs of thyme and the bay leaves, and then you can start adding all your vegetables. Cook until the vegetables are tender. Then you're done. Garnish with some parsley, and you have a nice warm stew for a cold night in Norway. And now for the desserts. I'm going to show you how to make 2 cakes that feature the gun barrel design that's in the opening credits of the film. These cakes are also themed to the locations, so we have a Jamaican mocha rum cake, and we also have a rustic Matera cake. So here are all the ingredients you're going to need to make the Jamaican mocha rum cake. Some basics like flour, sugar, baking soda, and salt, but one of the key ingredients is Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee. Now, any coffee will do, but this just gives it a more Jamaican flavor. The recipe ties into the location of Jamaica, but in order to give it a little more of a 007 flavor, I decided to use this swirl bundt cake because it reminded me of the gun barrel open in the films. You can get one of these Nordic bundt cake pans easily online. In order to make sure the cake comes out nicely, use this magic release formula of equal parts flour, shortening, and oil. Then dust it with cocoa powder. Mix all your dry ingredients together. That's 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and 3/4 of a teaspoon salt. You'll need about 12 ounces of fine quality bittersweet chocolate chopped or broken up, a cup and a half of unsalted butter cut into pieces, and put in a double boiler to melt. Add your chocolate to the melted butter and stir. Remove the chocolate mixture from the heat and add 1/3 cup of your Jamaican dark rum, and then 2 cups of strongly brewed Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee. Then take the chocolate mixture, transfer to a large bowl, and add your 2 cups of granulated sugar and mix. And then beat in the eggs and vanilla until the batter's well combined. With an electric mixer at low speed, beat in the flour about 1/2 cup at a time. The batter's liquidy, but it's meant to be. And pour that into your bundt cake pan and then put it in a 300-degree oven for about 1.5 hours. Now comes the fun part, decorating it. I decided to go with the golden look of the 50th anniversary logo of the gun barrel. Okay, so here's the point of baker's remorse. I wish I had covered the cake in a chocolate ganache first and then added the gold spray to it because that looks really good. But I didn't have enough time, and this will do. So you can use one of these Wilton gold sprays to cover the cake in a golden color. You can also add some gold dust to it if you want to make some highlights. Okay, once your cake is done, you can print out the 007 logo that I'm including in the notes to this video and put that in the center of the cake, or you can make a circle out of marzipan. Now, you could do this out of fondant, but I really don't like the taste of that, so I'd much rather go with the marzipan. And to do that, take some marzipan, put a little powdered sugar on it, roll it out, and cut a circle, and then spray it with that gold spray. Then, if you want to put the 007 logo on that, use the graphic I gave you of the 007 logo and cut it out with an X-Acto knife or razor blade. Now you have a stencil you can use. Take some black cocoa powder, or regular will do fine, but the black cocoa powder will look really dark, and then sift that over the stencil and carefully remove it. And there you go, you have a 007 logo on top of your cake. And I put a little pill container inside the center of the cake so that when I put the marzipan on top, it wouldn't sag too much. And then you have a golden anniversary 007 cake with a little bit of Jamaican flavor. And finally, let's go to Matera, Italy, where we have a lot of action in the latest James Bond film. I couldn't find a whole lot of recipes from Matera, Italy, but I did find this one that was intriguing. It's kind of a rustic cake. It's not a sweet dessert cake, and you might enjoy it better with coffee or tea. This recipe can be mixed all by hand, or you can use a mixer. To begin, take 2 eggs, add 130 grams of sugar, add the zest of an orange, add a teaspoon of vanilla, and then you want to mix this vigorously. Add 80 milliliters of a neutral oil. Then you're going to sift all your dry ingredients into the mixture. The recipe calls for 180 grams of flour, which can be all-purpose flour for the entire amount. But to be more authentic to the region, go ahead and use 90 grams of all-purpose flour, and then 90 grams of semolina flour. This is the type of flour you use for making pasta. Then add 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Now, in contrast to the Jamaican mocha rum cake, this is going to be a very thick batter. And then add some nuts. I used walnuts, but you can use any kind of nuts you want. And you can add something like quince, which is what the original recipe called for. And then bake in a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. Take the cake out and let it cool completely. And as with the other cake, here's the fun part, decorating it. And to pull off the gun barrel design on this cake, you're going to need a stencil with a swirl design on it. And then you want to dust with a thick layer of powdered sugar so you have a white background to work with. Again, I'm working with a black cocoa powder. This is the kind of stuff you would make an Oreo cookie out of, and it gives you a true black as opposed to just plain cocoa powder, which is a lighter color. Now that you have your white background, you can use your stencil. Take the swirl stencil and center it carefully on the cake. Now, to get the centerpiece of that gun barrel, take any kind of circular object like a lid or something and put it in the middle of the cake. This will make sure that that centerpiece remains white. Now, very carefully lift the stencil off, and then you have your gun barrel design. And if you want to add the 007 logo to the center of that gun barrel, then take that 007 logo, cut a stencil, and sift the black cocoa powder over it. And there you have another gun barrel design cake flavored to Matera, Italy from No Time to Die. Thanks for watching another Geeky Gourmet. Remember to check out the companion podcast all about Bond, James Bond. And for the next edition of Geeky Gourmet, I'm going to bring on a mixologist who not only knows how to make the drinks that you find in the books and movies, but also knows a lot about James Bond. All the videos and podcasts can be found at kpbs.org/cinemajunkie. And check the notes for the video, because I'm going to include a link for some downloads so you can have the perfect Bond party. Okay, that wraps up our Q Branch test kitchen. So to get in the mood for the next episode, I'm going to have a little shaken, not stirred martini. So till our next film fix, I'm Accomando, Beth Accomando. Cheers.